Hey, Mike Ingham. Good to see you. Give me some quick insights onto the basic tricks of defending your hole off the starting line, both when you're set up early, when you're maybe setting up late.
Yeah, sure. So the scenario is you're on your final approach, and depending on the size of the fleet, a worlds or something that could be a couple minutes or a minute and a half, and smaller fleets it's a lot less. But either way, on that last approach, unless you're tacking it at the last instant, you're kind of going high and slow approaching the line, right? And you got a hole. So is this kind of the scenario you have in mind, right? Here's the line, and maybe you're the red boat and you got this green boat below you and you got a little space, and that's what you want, right? And because you have a little space there, somebody coming in late may want that space too, right? So that's what you got in mind.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think there's two scenarios here. You're defending their hole against somebody coming on port, and they want to tack in there. And then you're also defending your hole against somebody from behind that may reach down behind you, going a lot faster and come in and take it. And I think the reaction and the way to defend it is largely the same for both. And that is, there's no way, two ways about it. You have to sacrifice some of your hole to go save it. And so you're not going to get out of this clean. If somebody good's coming to take your hole, you don't get to have this gap and have them go by you or find a different spot or go past you this way. That doesn't happen. You have to sacrifice a little bit. So the question is, how do you make yourself like a very unattractive place to be, and at the same time be able to maintain some sort of gap to leeward? So let's just say there's a boat above you too. Maybe they're up here, and you have this port tacker coming in. You see them coming. Well, what you have to do is you basically have to head at them. And when I say head at them, I mean really head at them. Go right bow at them. And it seems a little counterintuitive because you think you're going to shoot forward. And you are to some degree. So the main thing is you got to have your vang off, jib out, main is out as far as it'll go. And you want to pivot down with as little forward motion as you can. And I like to say at the starting line, do unto them as you would not want them to do to you. So if you're this guy right here, what I want them to do is if this is me now, I want this person to continue to go high and slow. The sitting duck. I want them to be the sitting duck. I can go like this, tack in, add them up, then I got this hole, right? What I don't want them to do is head straight at me with a little bit of speed. Like, I run out of options fast. I have to decide right away whether I'm going to tack here, whether I'm still going to try to tack here, which now looks pretty unattractive, right? Or go beyond. So this boat has to do this aggressively and early enough to make that happen. So that's the first stage.
So real quick question. A big part of this, like just being, in that instantaneous turn down when things are happening quickly. How do you make sure that your sail trimmers are like in the same thought process you as well, so you don't do the big bear away with all the sails, fully trimmed, or you know what I mean, pulling you at pace?
Well, that's a great question. I think that the whole point of this has to be practiced, right? Everybody has to know that this is the move that's going to happen. This isn't like it might happen occasionally. This is how, if you have a good hole, somebody's going to want it. Somebody gets a little late coming in a port or coming in from behind, and we'll talk about a little more details coming from behind. But everybody has to know that everybody's trying to do everything you can to pivot down without going as forward hardly at all. So you don't want to be gaining much speed here. Now, inevitably, you're still going to gain some speed here. But they have to know they're doing everything they can. The jib is all the way out. The main sheet is all the way out. The vang is released. Maybe he'll a little weather to help bear off, and maybe jerk the helm so that it doesn't go, you don't want to do a smooth turn where you accelerate. You want to make it hard for the boat to accelerate.
Would you sort of yell out quickly, defending? I mean, because ideally, maybe in that same scenario, you have a tactician who's sort of alerting you to sharks and poachers coming in, and you might just yell one word, defending a hole or whatever it might be, so that in that moment, everybody knows what you're about to do and easy sales.
I'm a huge fan of common language and communication. And I think this is one of those cases where that might go out the window. It's happening so fast. Somebody says, the tactician says, or the driver says in a 2-person boat or whatever it is, whoever's saying, port tacker, and then everybody knows what's about to happen. And it's happening so quick that if you have to describe it, explain it, but I would think, but I don't use a word like defend, or maybe I should. It just seems like that happens. So like as soon as it happens, everybody's got to be on board that this is a move. So fair question though.
Okay, second question, then I'll let you go on quickly. And there's a point where, how long do you sort of sail to make the point and continue to sacrifice your hole where you can be confident that shark's not going to go anyway? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just say if this boat wasn't here and you wanted to bear off, you were bearing off for whatever reason. If you have a little bit of momentum, you can actually get part of your hole back. You don't go all the way back to here, but you can go down pretty far and then because you inevitably, even though you're trying not to cover that space quickly, inevitably you accelerate a little bit. You're going a little faster. You just kind of shoot it up as you kind of kill your speed again. And you're kind of right back to almost the same spot. Not quite. But if you go too far, you can't do that anymore, right? You're here. So there's a limit. But I think this is why you have to, now let's put the boat back in. This is why your bow, you got to go bow to bow. And if they head up a little, you head right at their bow. And they're moving, and now you're moving. Like this distance is happening quickly. So what you want to do is discourage them as quickly as you can. If you go part way, you're not really discouraging them. They're still like, oh, maybe I can still do this. And so you go a little more, and then by the time you get here, they're like, well, I can't do it. But now you've just screwed yourself, right? So you want to get them discouraged as quickly as you can. You just aggressively point your bow at them. And even if they start to go this way, you just keep going, and then they have to do something. And then as soon as they commit, you can just shoot right back up.
All right, final question, because I know there's like a gazillion what if scenarios when this does happen. Is there a point in time of the starting sequence where it's actually disadvantage to really kind of carve down deep, and then you end up kind of slow accelerating off the line? Is it sort of like 30 seconds is a good time? Anything inside that probably not going to work out for you?
So when I'm going high and slow, so this final approach is all about high and slow. You're trying to keep this gap here, unless there's a boat coming you have to defend from. But ideal world, nobody tries to take your hole. You're going high and slow. And I always figure that there's this magic time where I get to accelerate. And let's just say my boat, it's going to take me 20 seconds. I'm just making that up. A bigger, heavier boat might take longer, and more wind, less wind, waves are going to change this. But you have to know this ahead of time. From high and slow to full speed is 20 seconds. And, I'm just going to say it's 3 boat lengths, right? I don't know if those are real numbers or not, but you have to have that number in your head so that you're trying to be at 3 boat lengths with 20 seconds to go. Then you can accelerate and go. That's your goal. And so as you get closer and closer to this 20 seconds in this scenario, at some point you can't do this anymore. Because if you're doing this at 30 seconds, that might be your last moment, and then you just accelerate and go. If you're doing it at 25, they really can't pack in and get you anymore. So there is a time where this ends. But until that time, up until the last possible moment, that's when this happens, right? They're tacking in late. Something happened to their start. They're late. They're resetting up. Oh, good. There's a hole. There's Dave Reed.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Don't go in there, right? Don't do it. Yeah. Do you give them a little something?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes you talk to them because I think the other problem with doing this late is they don't really have time to digest what's happening. So if you do a part way and then a little more, they get more and more committed in their mind to doing this. So even if it's a bad move for them, at some point they're just going to go, and now you're all in trouble. Both of you aren't in good shape, right?
Yeah, right.
So if you do this hard and early, and you make your intentions known, like you stare them in the eye, and maybe even say something like, "Nah, don't even think about it. Keep going, buddy." Something humorous, but something that they know that you're not going to let them get away with it. They're going to have a bad start if they try to do it.
All right, so that's the port tack guy. Bring us through the sort of late scooping shark from coming on starboard.
Yeah, so the late scooping shark from behind really comes out exactly the same. So suppose blue's up here, you're going high and slow, which may be, half speed or something. You're going 2 knots, and they're going 4.5. They got a lot of momentum. I find this one much harder because you're not really looking that way, or they could be blanketed by this guy. They could be eclipsed, right? Like a lot of times by the time you see them, you don't have enough speed to bear off and do it, right? You're just pivoting, you're going slow. So I think this one you have to do even earlier than this one, right? There, you see this one pretty far away. I can see them. Yeah, that yellow boat's coming at me. I'm one of the few holes left. He's coming there. And then, but this one, somebody could be here and then at the last second decide to go. And that happens a lot. I find that if it's, if I'm sailing a single-handed boat, I'm just glancing every once in a while, see who could do that, who's in a bad spot that might be getting out of there. If I'm in a multi-person boat, I need somebody else helping me, especially in 3 or more. Maybe somebody's helping me with distance. It's really hard to look over your shoulder. You need help. So in our boats, the tactician's job is to look behind. It's a 3-person boat. The bow person's calling distance, the tactician's looking behind, and the big picture. I got this. I can see this.
All right, so it's a more gradual turn down, just to kind of.
No, it's just as aggressive. I think the move is almost identical.
Okay.
Again, you want to occupy this space. So your boom is part of that occupation. You take a lot of space when you do this. You're trying to make it really, really uncomfortable for this boat to try to come hook you. Once again, what would I not want this person to do if I was blue? Well, what I do want them to do is stay high and slow, because then I can just kind of lay up underneath, control my time, take that hole, right? What I don't want them to do is occupy this space slowly. Now I got a predicament. If they're moving quick, maybe I can get in here. If they're moving slow and taking a lot of space, this is a long way to go, right? To get around. And now I'm really far away. So once I get here and I start to head up, this guy gets to do this again. I kind of have that roundhouse maneuver. It's hard to get there. So you're trying to make this really, really difficult. You want to be that uninviting boat to be starting next to. I'm trying to get them to convince them to say, I'm going to go here. Like it looks like there's a lot of space. So they try to go in here. Now I've got a little momentum because I just did this, and all of a sudden they're in a bad spot.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to convince them to go here, just like I'm trying to convince yellow when they're coming here to go there or beyond, right? I want to do it just enough to convince them to go there, or in the yellow case, maybe even before green. I'm trying to keep them out of here.
Stay out of my hole. All right. So the final question in this scenario, this happens a lot, right? Is that blue boat, once they, but they continue to, even though you do a hard turn down, they still want it. It's getting into 30 seconds, 20 seconds. They kind of hook you, and everyone's yelling for you to go up, there is this. So now all of a sudden you have an overlap rates issue. How do you avoid just kind of that chaos if you're really trying to defend, and, maybe that guy is not quite savvy on the rules, or that gal?
Yeah, whether they're savvy or not, there's rule 17, which says if you establish an overlap from behind, you can't sail above your proper course. but before the start, there is no proper course. So they get to come from behind and, they can just kind of instantly head you up. Well, I shouldn't say instantly. There's this, you have to have time and room to keep clear, right? You have to have space to keep clear and react. So this person can't, once they hook in there and you head up, they can't just smash into you instantly and say protest, But this time isn't super long either. And I think I think it pays to count sometimes to defend yourself. And if you ever had to go to the room, you would have some evidence to go for it. So if you're blue and this person isn't reacting, you just immediately start counting 1, 1,000, 2, and you do it loud enough for them to hear, and they kind of get what you're doing. You kind of get to 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. They know they're at room. If you're hitting them at 2, 1,000, it's not good. And same goes here. If that person looks like they came in here and then immediately are saying head up, you can't even get your boom in, they're stuck in there. If you say, if you start counting as well, that really helps. Give me room and time. Room, I need room. I need time.
All right, awesome. So that question,
judgment calls though. That's the trouble of that. That's in the room. That's going to be a judgment call. That's why you count.
Counting is good. Being verbal, being just have. It's almost like it's good to talk to people on your boat, but also the people you're interacting with. As in, don't go in there. Hey, whatever. Have your conversation with them, right? Get out, get away clean. So sort of my final question then is, when you're the ultimate score on defending a hole, when you've done it right, what should be the outcome be?
Well, I think there's two potential outcomes. One is the best outcome is they choose not to go to leeward from you to whether this one coming here or this one coming here. Either way, they choose somewhere else to go. You have a little momentum. You gain back part of your hole. You still have some gap. Short of that, if they do go in there, hopefully you force them. So let's take the port tacker. You force them to go earlier than they want, and now they're in trouble on green. You get to kind of be a little freer. You're okay. This is they got attacked early here, and you have the advantage at that point. And same with blue. It's a little harder with blue because they're not attacking. They can really head up quickly. So it's harder to keep them from going in there if they really want to. You have to really commit. You have to get so far that they're like, I just can't do it. I'm going to keep going. But your number one goal is to not have them go there. Your number two goal is if they do, make it so it's not a good experience for them on green. Use green as your person.
Make it hurt. All right. Excellent insight, Mike. Thank you very much. And
one thing to this is
one more.
If you do this enough times, really aggressively, you get a reputation of doing a good job. I'm talking doing it, legally and fairly, but aggressively. Somebody's going to be like, no, I don't want to start next to that. I don't want to go there.
Not going there. I'm not starting next to Mike Ingham. All right, duly noted.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Mike. Have a great day, and I appreciate the insight as always.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers.